It's hard to, make sequels and make them better than the original, especially when the original has set the bar so high. What are we even talking about, bro? What are we even talking about? What are we even talking about? Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is a part one of a two-part extension of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse original film, being a proper sequel to Into the Spider-Verse from 2018, and this thing justifies why it took 5 years to make it. It is a masterpiece. Hey, my name is Aaron Jones, Christatic AJ, as always, and I want to review Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And it's definitely a film that you see in theaters, for one. I'll start there. There are things this movie did that are obvious homages to the original in terms of the frame rate, in terms of the coloring, in terms of the style in which things are drawn, but it just expands upon it, makes things sharper, takes more creative liberties with some things, and it just really is a gorgeous, gorgeous film, top to bottom. I mean, I heard a reviewer say one time that every frame, if you pause it, it could be a piece of art. True statement when it comes to this movie in particular. It's a movie we're not getting nowadays from a lot of studios. It's what the fans want. It's good storytelling, an amazing animation, and it's not just fan service for the sake of fan service, but it is in alignment with the story you're telling. The characters are living out their journeys, and through that we're able to receive a message. It's not heavy-handed. I think a lot of movies nowadays are getting more heavy-handed with the messaging, whereas this one, it really didn't feel like it was. It felt like it was organic and a natural progression of what we saw in the original. The story of this kid who gets these spider powers and has to navigate how to live this life and what that looks like for him as he grows up and goes through certain life changes that we all do as human beings. But he has these powers and has to figure out how to work with those. Man, the way this movie challenges character relationships and character dynamics established in the first one is crazy. Gwen Stacy has a lot of screen time here, and what they do with her and Miles' relationship, I think, is very, very smart. Instead of just saying, okay, this is a girl he likes and this is, his crush, they expand on that and challenge, okay, but how close are they really? And whose side are they actually on in terms of this whole Spider-Verse thing? Loved her character, loved her story. I loved how she was written to be broken. I think when I read her comics initially, she is a broken character because of her Peter and how he, unfortunately died. And they really took that, and I felt like the comic was put to screen in terms of that opening sequence, and in terms of, again, just how she was reacting to certain things, and even how she changed based upon her experiences. I think she was written really well, and I give props to the animators, props to the writers, props to Haley Steinfeld for bringing life to this character once again. She's a really good job with that. As a Spider-Man fan, having been following the Spider-Man property, the Spider-Man IP, the Spider-Man character since the Raimi series, and then delving into things before and after, I was catching so many references and loving each and every one. I mean, if Digital Spider-Verse gave you, what felt like a bunch of Spider characters in one film, this one gives you almost too many, but it's not trying to establish all of them as characters. Certain characters that make cameos, I'm like, where did y'all get the idea to do that and actually pay this off? Some of this was set up in other movies that they paid off in this movie. Which is, props to Sony for being able to use all the Spider-Man IP as they want to, because it just makes the fan experience that much more amazing. I think people downplay the effect the score has on the movie. Daniel Pemberton's work is to be acknowledged. Metro Boomin's work is to be acknowledged. They and what they do add so much weight to these scenes, add so much weight to what the characters are saying, and adds so much character to every environment. The score need not be neglected, and I praise Daniel Pemberton's score of the first film and this one, and I praise Metro Boomin's addition. He brought some fire stuff to the soundtrack. I mean, one thing I love about, the original Into the Spider-Verse soundtrack is, how urban it felt. And they bring some of that urban feel, some of that hip-hop feel back with this one, so your head knocking in the theater as you're watching. And I love the big band sound that Daniel brought to this movie. I mean, he definitely plays with distortion again and plays with different random sounds for the score again. But, some of this stuff has more of a big band sound. Like a lot of instruments, like a lot of full orchestra. As someone who loves movie scores, just in general, I just love listening to them. My ear is tickled with a lot of what this movie has to offer audio-wise. Miles Morales. Oh. They know what they're doing with this character. They know what they're doing with the story, period. But with this character in particular, his journey is one of finding out not just who you are, but finding out that who you are is not going to mesh well with everybody. Not everyone's going to understand who you are. People are going to put you in a box because of what they feel you're supposed to be or what they know to be the canon. But you don't have to fit into the mold everyone else thinks you're supposed to fit into. That's the message I think that this movie is telling and showing through Miles' progression. He's not the typical Spider-Man. Even when he tries to be, he's always different. But the different isn't like detrimental necessarily. The different is just not the norm. And what he does that I feel like a lot of people are going to relate with is he pushes against the norm. He says, what the norm is whack, and I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm going to literally be my own character, carve my own path in this story. And, it's really powerful how it plays out. And again, every character move, every character's decision feels natural. Nothing feels out of character for what they, for who they've been and who they are. It all feels in character. The character decisions made for Miles are just really mature. I love his relationship with his parents, how that has even changed. He's definitely having more struggles with being more older and trying to be his own person. Hadn't let him spread his wings. The drama in this movie is done so well. The drama was done good in the first one too, but it was definitely more of a comedy. This one has a lot more drama, and it's good. Oh, it's so well written, so well acted. I don't know if it's because of my background, but it all feels very real, authentic, and I love it so much. All in all, this thing is a 10 out of 10 movie. Not since Puss in Boots have I seen a more fulfilling and game-changing film to come out in theaters that I think is really doing something different from what mainstream Hollywood is doing. The SpiderVerse films are pushing animation in a very good direction. They're also pushing storytelling in a very, very good direction. Honestly, I couldn't recommend this film enough. I could not recommend seeing it in theaters enough. And, I can't wait for part 2 to come out. The way this thing ends, I think people complain, is too jarring. I don't think it was too jarring. I feel like it definitely went on longer than it needed to, and I don't feel bad about that. I don't think it was a detriment to the film. I think, if anything, it could have went longer. I know people said they felt the runtime. I didn't. I was more so looking at my watch please don't end. Please keep going, because they are so good at the writing. It's so good at, showing and displaying the story that you don't want it to end because you're invested. If you follow the characters and if you like the characters, you will be invested. And it's going to be, it's going to be tough to wait for the next one to come out. That being said, I love the film. I would definitely encourage anybody and everybody watching it. And till next time, peace and deuces.